In today's Warzone video, I'm going to be showing you guys my top 7 SMG meta loadouts. These loadouts have been refined here ever since the update, so I think you guys are going to love today's video. If you happen to enjoy it, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. All right, so for our first gun here today, we're going to be taking a look at the H4 Blixen. This is probably my favorite SMG to use right now, and undoubtedly probably one of the most meta SMGs. So let's give you guys a build for it. So first thing here, of course, we're going to go for the recoil booster as our first attachment. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to go for the Bergstrom 17 F3 barrel, recoil control and accuracy, bullet velocity, and of course, flinch resistance. This is what we switched over to from using the Johnson 9 barrel. We switched over to using this thing, and it's really good. After that, in the underbarrel section, we're going to go and use the SG98 compact for aim walking, movement speed, and of course reduced scope sway and gun bob. This is gonna be a really solid attachment for this particular build here. I don't really use this though on any other SMG here for any of these Vanguard ones. In the magazine section, we're gonna go for the 7.62 Gorenko 54 round mag. This gives you increase in headshot damage, whereas the Gorenko 36 gives you increase in torso damage. It's more or less up to you and your personal preference, but for me, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, to be honest with you guys. So I just go for the 54, as I'd rather have more ammunition in my magazine. Now on the ammunition side of things, we're going to go for lengthened tier for that increase in bullet velocity. And then in the rear grip section, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to grooved grip for ADS-5 move speed and horizontal recoil control. This is really going to help out this gun be a lot more easy to control and give you a little bit more agility. In the optic section, we're going to do is we're going to go for the slate reflector here. This is a really good sight, and I prefer to use this one here exclusively. And then in the stock, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the Bergstrom MB, hipfire accuracy, ADS speed, and of course, movement speed. And then down in perk 1, what we're going to do is we're going to go for fleet for weapon swap quickness and movement speed. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for quick for that overall increase in sprint speed. This is my favorite build here to use in the Blixen right now. This thing is incredible, super meta, and very good. Next up, let's give you guys a build here for the Armaguerra. This is another incredible SMG here within the update. So let's give you guys a good build for it. So first thing, we're going to go for the recoil booster here. I mean, it's pretty standard on these SMGs. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the body 570 barrel. Highly accurate and controllable headshot damage increase, and of course that increase in bullet velocity, super good, and I prefer to use this barrel. After that, in the barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for that beautiful M1941 hand stop. But I also have started experimenting using the SMLE pistol grip just to increase my overall mobility, and this actually does work pretty nicely, but to kind of stay safe with it, the M1941 hand stop is really good. Now in the magazine section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 9mm 42 round fast mag. This reloads very quickly, and 42 rounds is pretty solid for an SMG, so I think 9mm 42 works out very well. And then the ammunition side of things, what we're going to do is we're going to go for lengthens for that overall increase in bullet velocity. Rear grip section, what we're going to do, we're going to go for the taped grip here. Increased aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, sprint to fire. I mean, it's got literally no cons. It's a really good rear grip for this gun. Optic section, we're going to go for the slate reflector here just to be able to see. I mean, I don't like the iron sights all that much. I don't think they're good. You guys can probably tell by the ground loot, they're not all that great. And then in the stock section, we're going to go for the Imredo SA folding, sprint to fire speed, and of course, movement speed. And then in perk 1, we have already a fast mag, so we don't need sleight of hand. We're going to go for steady to increase our mobility a little bit, in ADS-5 move speed. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for quick for the increase in sprint speed. So this is my full build here for the Armaguerra. It's really good. Definitely try it out. It's a solid SMG here in Season 4. All right, next up, let's give you guys a build here for the Wellgun. This is the Dark Jinx variant, by the way, and I'm not sure how much it's going to look like it after we're done building it. That's kind of how these variants work. It's a bit unfortunate, but first thing, you guys know the drill here. Recoil booster. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 120mm Gawain short for that increase in fire rate. I personally prefer to use this barrel over all the rest of them. I do believe it's going to be the best one out there for maximum sort of like mobility and increase in fire rate. We love that, so we're going to go ahead and use this. Underbarrel section, we're going to go for the M1941 hand stop. Kind of need to use that on this gun in particular just because it's going to bounce around a little bit if you don't have that on there. Otherwise, magazine, we're going to go for the 7.62 Gorenko 40. This is a top tier magazine right here. Increased net fire rate's never a bad thing, and we've run this here for a long time. This is still definitely the magazine, like the way to go. Ammunition side of things, you guys could go for hollow point or lengthened. I've had good success running either, but for me right now, I've had a little bit better success running hollow point recently, so I'm just definitely going to suggest for you guys to run that. Rear grip section here, we're going to go for a taped grip here, aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, of course, sprint to fire. Makes this gun more mobile than it already was, which is never a bad thing. We love, you know, peak mobility for these things. Optic section, of course, slate reflector here. Ain't gonna explain that one too much. Stock, we're going to do is we're going to go for the remove stock. Increase in movement speed, sprint to fire speed, ADS speed. I mean, this thing is going to be an absolute menace in terms of mobility and stopping power. It's going to be a little bit ridiculous. Then, of course, in perk 1 section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for acrobatic, movement speed, sprinting, move speed. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for quick increase in sprint speed. This thing is insane, fellas. Definitely need to try this thing out. Super good. And I mean, you're gonna be flying around that map. It's kind of nuts. All right, now it's time to show some of the Cold War guns a little bit of love, as this is good. This got buffed here in the most recent update and it became a lot more viable. So let's check it out. So first thing in here is going to be, of course, muzzle agency suppressor. We run this on a large majority of our these Cold War guns. You definitely need to be running it on this gun also in particular. Barrel section, 5.9 task force. We've run this for a hot minute now. No reason to switch it up. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's kind of the, you know, the case in point with this thing. Task force is just the best possible thing to run on this gun. After that, we have a little bit of a, you know, an ability to choose around with what we want to do. But for me personally, I'm going to go for the laser. I'm going to go for the Tiger Team Spotlight. This is going to work out very nicely. Increase movement speed, aim, walking movement speed. You sit in a corner, this may not be the best for you just because, I mean, you're going to be able to be visible by a flashlight. But for me, I'm running and gunning, so it does not really matter. But they're going to see me regardless, so I don't really care. At magazine section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the Stanag 53 round drum, increasing the ammo capacity. Gotta love that. And also, you don't need that fast mag. It does not do you any benefit just because, I mean, it already loads fast enough as is, and we don't need to slow our ADS time down anymore, so we're going to do that. And then for our final thing, the stock section, we're going to go for the Raider stock. ADS fire move speed, aim, walking, and of course, sprint to fire time. So this is my full build here on this Mac 10. Love this thing. Definitely should be trying this thing out in Season 4. All right, next up, let's give you guys a build here for the OTS-9. This is totally my favorite Cold War SMGs, and it's really good here within the season. So let's give you guys a build for it. First thing, of course, GRU suppressor here. Like we did for the Mac 10, we're going to stick with the GRU or the agency, you know, whether either or, it doesn't really matter, but pretty much this is the equivalent of it. So we're going to go for the GRU suppressor on this gun. Barrel section, 8.1 task force. I mean, this is just definitely the best thing on this thing. Definitely do not need to switch this up, so we're going to stay with the task force barrel. We're skipping the underbarrel section, going straight to that magazine. What we're going to do is we're going to go for the VDV 40 round fast mag. I normally don't recommend fast mags on a lot of guns, but we've been running the fast mag here almost since this thing came out. And it's just because the 40 round mag, I mean, that'd normally be my suggestion, but if you've ever picked this up when it was ground loot, I mean, the reload was absolutely chalked. So don't ever run this. It's way too slow. Run the fast mag and you'll be winning a lot more fights because you can actually reload in time. It's a little bit crazy like that. Rear grip section here, we're going to stick with that. We're going to go into the Serpent wrap for that increase in ADS time. I absolutely love the Serpent wrap on this thing. This is one of my favorite ways to build this gun. It's really good. And then for the final thing in the stock, we're going to go for KGB Skeletal to increase our overall movement speed a little bit there, and it's really solid. And also, we don't really pay attention to that con of hipfire accuracy, as we don't really ever hipfire with this gun ever. You ADS pretty much 99% of the time, you know, unless you're at incredibly, like, you know, piss close range. So that's really about that. This is my build here for the OTS-9. Absolutely love this thing. I remember calling Warzone OTS Zone at one point because this was so dominant. All right, so this next one here, I've been getting a lot of comments about the MP7 being incredibly good. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll give you guys a build for the MP7 that you can hopefully dominate with, but I don't know exactly how meta it is, but I've been getting a lot of people telling me this thing slaps here recently. So I'll take y'all's word for it, and I'll give you guys my build. First thing, muzzle category, mono suppressor, sound suppression, and of course damage range. Got to have a suppressor on here. It's not a Vanguard SMG. We ran suppressors on Modern Warfare and Cold War SMGs, not the Vanguard ones, just because this is the best way they can be built. First thing, also in the barrel section, though, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the FSS Recon, damage range, bullet velocity, and of course recoil control. This is really good because we most likely will not be using much of a foregrip on this thing, so this is definitely going to be a bit handy in that regard for that overall increase in recoil control. Speaking of, we're going to go straight for the laser, and what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 5MW laser, hip fire accuracy, and sprint to fire speed. This is going to make you more agile, more mobile, to be able to compete with some of these other, you know, SMGs like the Cold War, the Vanguard ones. They're going to have, you know, a ton more mobility on them just because of the amount of attachments you can put on them. So the 5MW is definitely the way to go for this thing. In the magazine section, we're going to go for the 50 round mag here. I normally go for a 60 because I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, but to be honest with this, with you guys, I don't really want to go for that just because the 50 is pretty good on this thing, and I'd also rather have a little bit more mobility, as you know, this just makes me feel like I'm so slowed down a little bit too much, and we don't need to be slowing ourselves down anymore in comparison to what we're already going up against. So the 50 is the way to go. And then for our last thing, the stock section, we're going to go for the no stock for that maximum increase in movement speed and ADS speed. So this is my full build here for this gun. It's really good right now, according to everybody else out there. I personally don't be using it, but hey, this is my build for it. For our last gun here today, we're going to throw in the MP40, as this is a really solid gun to use. So let's go ahead and give you guys a build for it. First thing, muzzle. Of course, we're going to go for a recoil booster here. This is what we do on these Vanguard SMGs. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the Krausnik 31704B barrel. I'm really liking this here a lot more recently than the VDD 189mm short, but I'll tell you guys right now, you can run either or of these and you'll be perfectly fine. It's not going to be like a massive game-breaking difference between the two of them. But for me, I've been liking this top barrel here as of recent. Underbarrel section, what we're going to do is, because we have that top barrel, we're going to go for the Mark VI skeletal, that overall increase in ADS speed and movement speed. You don't really need much recoil control because that's going to help out with that. So the Mark VI is going to be a really, really solid option. Magazine, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 7.62 Gorenko 45 round mag. We've run this for a while now. There's no reason to switch it up. It's just definitely still the best one out there. Ammunition, we're going to go for, of course, lengthen for that increase in bullet velocity. Rear grip section, we're gonna go for the taped grip here. I couldn't find it there for a second, but taped grip, this is maximum mobility here in the rear grip, and we absolutely love that. Optics section, we can go ahead and use actually the Krausnik iron sights, because this has really good iron sights on this thing. They're pretty easy to see out of, and you get an increase in ADS speed, which is really nice. And the stock section, we're going to go for the Krausnik 33M folding or the remove stock. It's kind of up to you guys what you want to be able to do, but I've had good success running the folding stock or the remove stock entirely, so it's just personal preference. I think either or, you really can't go wrong with it. And then in perk 1, what we're going to do is we're going to throw on steady here for ADS fire move speed. I want to be a little bit more agile here with this gun, so I'm throwing on steady. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for quick for that increase in sprint speed. This is my full build here on this MP40. Super good. This has been my top 7. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe with the notifications turned on. I'll see you guys all later. Just run on Triple Cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.